Every result in life is closely connected to the standards a person is willing to live by each day. Standards are the quiet rules that guide behavior when motivation is low and when no one is watching. They determine whether someone shows up prepared or makes excuses, whether they finish what they start or settle for partial effort. Over time, these repeated choices shape reputation, confidence, opportunities, and overall direction in life. When a person consistently tolerates lateness, distraction, negativity, or inconsistency gradually becomes their normal, and that normal begins to define their outcomes. Desire alone is never enough to create meaningful change. Many people wish for success, stability, respect, or financial growth, yet their daily standards remain unchanged. When standards stay low, effort becomes optional, discipline becomes temporary, and progress becomes inconsistent. Life responds not to what someone hopes will happen, but to what their habits prove they are prepared to handle. This is why two individuals with similar talent can experience completely different results. One operates with higher expectations for preparation, focus, and persistence. Standards influence how challenges are approached. When expectations are low, obstacles feel like valid reasons to stop. When expectations are high, obstacles become signals to adapt and improve. A person with strong standards does not rely on mood to determine performance. They rely on commitment. This creates reliability, and reliability builds trust from others and from oneself. Self-trust is powerful because it strengthens confidence. When someone repeatedly keeps small promises to themselves, they begin to believe in their ability to handle bigger responsibilities. Daily routines are where standards quietly operate. The decision to start the day with purpose instead of delay, to complete tasks with quality instead of rushing, and to manage time instead of wasting it may seem minor in the moment. However, these choices compound. Consistent order creates momentum, and momentum produces measurable results. Over weeks and months, higher standards transform average effort into noticeable progress. Another important effect of strong standards is clarity. When a person decides what is acceptable and what is not, many distractions lose their power. They become less influenced by temporary emotions or external pressure. Instead of reacting to circumstances, they respond with intention. This shift reduces stress because fewer decisions are made impulsively. Ultimately, outcomes improve when personal expectations improve. Skills grow when practice becomes non-negotiable. Respect increases when integrity becomes consistent. Opportunities expand when reliability becomes visible. Life begins to reflect the level of seriousness a person brings to their responsibilities. By raising what is considered acceptable behavior, especially in private moments, a foundation is built for long-term progress, stability, and meaningful achievement. Real and lasting transformation rarely begins with dramatic actions. It begins with small, deliberate decisions repeated consistently. The choices that seem insignificant in the moment: waking up when you planned, finishing a task before seeking comfort, preparing before an opportunity arrives, are the ones that slowly reshape a person's direction. These simple acts are powerful because they are controllable. While circumstances may not always be in your favor, your daily decisions almost always are. Consistency in small actions builds something more valuable than quick results. It builds self-respect. Each time you follow through on a commitment, even a minor one, you send a message to your mind that your word has value. Over time, this strengthens self-trust. When self-trust grows, hesitation decreases. You spend less energy doubting yourself and more energy executing what needs to be done. Confidence, then, is no longer based on motivation or praise from others. It is built on evidence created by your own behavior. Many people wait for a surge of inspiration before they act, but inspiration is unreliable. Small, non-negotiable habits remove the need to feel motivated. When a behavior becomes part of your routine, it requires less emotional effort to begin. This is why simple structures like setting a fixed time for focused work, reviewing goals daily, or completing one important task before distractions create momentum. Momentum is powerful because progress, even in small amounts, encourages further progress. Another benefit of consistent small decisions is that they reduce overwhelm. Big goals often appear intimidating because they seem distant and complex. Breaking them into manageable actions makes improvement practical. Instead of trying to change everything at once, a person improves one behavior at a time. These incremental improvements accumulate, and over weeks or months, they produce visible change that once seemed impossible. Small, disciplined actions also strengthen character during difficult moments. When pressure increases, people do not suddenly become more prepared. They fall back on their practiced habits. If discipline has been exercised in ordinary days, it becomes available on challenging days. This reliability creates stability in performance, regardless of mood or environment. In addition, consistent effort attracts opportunities. People who demonstrate dependability through everyday actions become trusted with greater responsibility. Others notice those who finish what they start, who respect time, and who maintain quality even when no one is supervising. Trust opens doors that talent alone cannot. Major change is rarely the result of one bold move. It is the result of hundreds of quiet, correct decisions made when they were easy to ignore. By committing to small, non-negotiable improvements done daily rather than occasionally, a person gradually shifts their identity from someone who intends to succeed to someone who consistently produces success through disciplined action. When personal standards rise, discipline stops feeling like an external force and begins to operate as part of identity. Actions are no longer driven by pressure, fear, or constant reminders. They are guided by an internal agreement about who one chooses to be. This shift is powerful because behavior aligned with identity requires less resistance. A person no longer asks, "Do I feel like doing this?" but instead acts from the mindset, "This is how I operate." Clear standards reduce mental clutter. When expectations are defined, fewer decisions compete for attention. Time is no longer wasted debating whether to show up fully, to prepare properly, or to give extra effort. These behaviors become automatic. This clarity creates efficiency and focus, allowing energy to be invested where it truly matters. As a result, progress feels more stable and less exhausting. Rising standards also change the relationship with discomfort. Growth always involves challenge. But when discipline becomes identity, discomfort is no longer seen as a signal to stop. It becomes a familiar companion on the path of improvement. Instead of avoiding difficulty, a person begins to expect it. This expectation builds resilience and emotional strength, making setbacks less discouraging and persistence more natural. Identity-based discipline strengthens character. Integrity becomes consistent rather than situational. A person does the right thing not because someone is watching, but because it aligns with their internal values. This consistency builds credibility, both internally and externally. Self-respect grows when actions match principles, and others naturally respond with greater trust and respect as well. Another important outcome of higher standards is improved boundaries. As clarity increases, tolerance for distractions, unhealthy environments, and unproductive habits decreases. A person becomes more selective with time, energy, and attention. This selectivity is not rooted in arrogance, but in awareness of the cost of low standards. By protecting focus and priorities, long-term goals are given the space to develop. When discipline becomes identity, progress becomes sustainable. Short bursts of motivation are no longer required to maintain effort. Instead, steady action continues even during uninspiring periods. This consistency compounds over time, producing results that appear extraordinary to others but feel natural to the individual living them. Ultimately, identity is shaped by repeated choices. Each disciplined action reinforces the belief, this is who I am. Over time, that belief solidifies and behavior follows effortlessly. By raising personal standards and aligning them with values, a person transforms discipline from a temporary struggle into a permanent strength, creating a life guided by clarity, purpose, and quiet confidence. Lasting success is always built from the inside outward. External achievements may appear impressive, but they are sustained only when internal growth supports them. Skills, confidence, discipline, and self-awareness form the foundation upon which income, relationships, and stability are built. When inner development is neglected, external success becomes fragile and difficult to maintain. Personal growth begins with responsibility. When individuals accept full ownership of their attitudes, decisions, and effort, they regain control over their direction. This internal shift removes the habit of blaming circumstances and replaces it with purposeful action. Instead of waiting for conditions to improve, focus turns to improving capacity, character, and competence. As inner strength increases, external challenges feel more manageable. Outer results respond directly to inner preparation. Financial growth follows improved skills, better decision-making, and consistent effort. Strong relationships develop from emotional awareness, respect, and effective communication. Peace of mind grows when discipline replaces chaos and priorities replace distractions. These outcomes are not accidents. They are the natural response to strengthen inner habits. Inner growth also improves adaptability. The world is constantly changing, and those who rely solely on external stability often struggle when conditions shift. However, individuals who invest in learning, self-control, and mental resilience are better equipped to adjust. They carry their value within themselves rather than depending on circumstances to provide it. This creates confidence rooted in ability, not comfort. Another important aspect of inner development is self-mastery. Controlling impulses, managing emotions, and maintaining focus under pressure directly influence results. When inner order increases, outer order follows. Time is used more effectively, decisions become clearer, and effort is applied where it produces the greatest return. This alignment reduces stress and increases effectiveness. As inner expectations rise, standards for performance, integrity, and consistency also rise. This shift attracts better opportunities and stronger connections. People naturally gravitate toward those who demonstrate reliability and self-awareness. Trust grows, and with trust come responsibility and influence. Ultimately, the quality of life reflects the quality of inner discipline. External rewards may motivate temporarily, but inner growth sustains progress long-term. By strengthening character, sharpening skills, and refining habits, a person creates a stable foundation that supports success in every area of life. When inner development becomes a daily priority, external success stops being something chased and becomes something that naturally follows. Real change begins the moment a person decides that certain behaviors, excuses, and limitations will no longer be acceptable. Every life has turning points, and many of them are quiet decisions made in ordinary moments. When someone raises their personal minimum, what they are no longer willing to tolerate from their habits, their effort, and their mindset, they create a clear line between who they used to be and who they are becoming. This decision is powerful because it shifts focus from wishing for improvement to demanding it from daily actions. Taking a firm stand against old patterns requires honesty. It means recognizing where time has been wasted, where discipline has been inconsistent, and where comfort has been chosen over growth. This awareness is not meant to create guilt, but to create clarity. Once clarity appears, excuses lose their strength. The person begins to see that progress is less about waiting for the perfect opportunity and more about using the present moment with intention. When new standards are set, commitment must follow quickly. Delay weakens decisions, while immediate action strengthens them. Even small steps, organizing priorities, completing a postponed task, or removing a daily distraction send a strong message to the mind that change is already in motion. Action builds momentum, and momentum makes it easier to continue improving. Without action, even the best intentions fade back into old routines. Another important part of raising personal expectations is replacing negotiation with non-negotiables. Instead of repeatedly debating whether to do what is necessary, certain behaviors become automatic requirements. Showing up prepared, finishing what was started, protecting focus time, and maintaining integrity become standard operating principles. This reduces internal conflict and preserves mental energy for meaningful work. There will always be moments when the previous comfort zone tries to return. Old habits are familiar, and familiarity often feels safe. However, each time a person chooses the higher standard instead of the easier option, inner strength grows. These repeated victories, even if small, build resilience and reinforce the new direction. Confidence increases because progress is now supported by evidence, not just hope. Raising what is acceptable also improves the environment around a person. As expectations increase, choices about time, relationships, and responsibilities become more intentional. Energy is invested in activities that produce growth rather than temporary satisfaction. This shift gradually changes results because consistent, focused effort naturally leads to better opportunities and stronger outcomes. In the end, transformation is less about dramatic breakthroughs and more about firm personal decisions that are honored daily. The moment someone decides that average effort is no longer enough and begins acting according to that decision, life starts to move in a different direction. With clear standards, immediate action, and consistent follow-through, progress becomes steady, confidence becomes earned, and the path toward meaningful success becomes far more certain. Lasting transformation is not created by luck, talent, or occasional bursts of motivation. It is built through the standards a person chooses to live by every day. When expectations from oneself rise, habits begin to improve, discipline becomes consistent, and identity starts to shift toward reliability and purpose. Small, repeated decisions strengthen self-trust, and that self-trust becomes the foundation of confidence, resilience, and steady progress. As inner growth expands through responsibility, self-control, and clear priorities, outer results naturally begin to change. Opportunities increase, relationships improve, and performance becomes more stable because actions are now guided by strong internal principles rather than temporary emotions. What once required effort and reminders gradually becomes natural behavior. True progress happens when a person decides that average effort, excuses, and distraction are no longer acceptable, and then supports that decision with daily action. With higher standards, clear non-negotiables, and consistent follow-through, life begins to move in a new direction quietly but powerfully. Over time, these disciplined choices compound, turning small improvements into meaningful success, stronger character, and a life shaped by intention rather than circumstance.